Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be recapping day 1 of the Washington Commanders mini camp. A lot to talk about, including Terry McLaurin not attending, a bunch of rookies and second year players balling out. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button. We're like 5-10 away from 15,500 subscribers. We're also in a different setting. Push the lunch break back a little bit just so I could make this video. So again, hit that like button. Comment down below who you are most impressed with and who you're most looking forward to hearing about. So let's talk about first Terry, the news there. We'll briefly mention it. I don't think it's a big deal. We've mentioned it over, the last, few days, and there might be some background noise, like I said. But Terry wasn't there. He's seeking a new deal. There's 3 days of mini camp. Maybe they'll cancel the last day. A lot of coaches usually do that and, give the players a little bit of a nice break heading into, the 6-week break into training camp. But yeah, Terry's not going to be there. He's eligible to fines like a little bit over $100,000. He said he's, his camp at least, has told reporters he's willing to, punt on the $500,000 workout bonus. So he's frustrated. It seems like definitely it's a little bit worse than it was maybe 3 years ago in 2022. But it's far from a situation where we have to super worry about. It's definitely on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say earlier on in the off season, right when the season ended, it's like a 2.5, ish, because, still got a little bit of time. Then you pass the, off season, the draft, free agency, it gets a little bit higher. I would say it's like a 5-ish, 6 level, because, he is missing minicamp, and that's not like him. He doesn't, usually do that. He has done it once in the past, though. So, I guess that's the only other time he's had the opportunity to do it. So, I guess, in a contract situation, it is like him. But we're going to have to wait and see. If a deal hasn't been done by training camp, then I would say it's like a 7 or 8. And after that, then it really gets too concerning. But let's get into the interesting stuff right here. So we'll go over. So we'll start with JP Finley and just go over some of the things he said from practice. Marshawn Lattimore is there. Laramie Tunsil was there, which is really good as well. Jason Garrett was there. I might be aging myself here, but I don't know who Will Muschamp is. So, again, forgive me there. Let's see. I guess, some football coach or something. Again, I'm usually pretty good with the, older players and coaches, but not there. I guess there's a clip of Laramie Tunsil, walking around, I guess. And then, we got Josh Connerly in the mix as well. Getting some reps in there, 72. So that's good to see for sure. We'll continue to go through, go down the line here. You got Marshawn Lattimore in the new uniform, number 2, or not new uniform, but new number, with the number 2 there. So it's good there. Dan Quinn said no restrictions for Lattimore, full participant. Missed a lot of games last season with a hamstring injury. You got Jayden Daniels there working with Hartman. You got Josh Johnson there, and I'm sure Marcus Mariota is there as well. I heard he was throwing some dimes to Tyree Jackson, the former quarterback from Buffalo, I believe, and now a tight end. McCaffrey had a nice day. I heard McCaffrey had a really nice day, had a nice catch and run for a touchdown from Jayden Daniels. So working with the first team. Obviously, Terry's not there, which, takes away a lot of the targets. Debo had a nice leaping catch for a touchdown from Jayden in goal line drills. D-line shouting that the play would have been dead. And one thing I was just realizing thinking here is Debo is going to get a lot more targets now while Terry isn't there for mini camp and some of these OTAs days. And I don't think really Jayden and Terry, obviously it's good for them to get, work in and, get their chemistry, continue to get up, continue to develop. But they don't need it. Debo and Jayden, though, they really need it. So getting them extra reps together is really cool. So it is really good, and it's really cool that Debo had a nice catch today. I'm sure they'll put that on somewhere for the Commanders' Twitter. Let's go ahead. We'll go over from, usually, the usual Zach Selby, who gives a lot of good, tweets, analysis, and videos. You see Debo there. He looks good. He looks quick. He looks, in shape, which is good. You got Josh Connerly there going through individual drills. I already, showed a clip from that earlier, but we'll go over some stuff. So Chris Moore had a nice catch, special teams kind of guy, receiver, was, playing with Mariota there. Jeremy Reeves in coverage. Tyree Jackson had a nice catch, 6'7", 249 pounds. And I guess he didn't have a nice catch. I guess I was tripped. Or he had a catch. So at first I was like, he had one, and then I was like, wait, maybe he didn't. I'm trying to find where it said he had a catch, but he did have a catch. 6'7", 250 pounds. So it's a huge target for the quarterbacks, and if he can play well, maybe he can get a spot on the roster. I think that's a good shout by Zach Selby there. Debo had a nice catch. We talked about that. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, JCM, Bill, whatever you want to call him. He likes to be called Bill. Had a nice 60-yard touchdown run. Beat the defense outside and sprinted up the sideline. Really showed some speed on that play. So that's amazing to hear. And Zach Selby says McCaffrey's having a great day so far. He's made 3 catches so far, just ran 1 in for a touchdown. I'm pretty sure that's probably the one that JP Finley had out there. But, he mentioned some other catches as well. And, that's great. We want to see a big year from Luke McCaffrey. It's not OTAs. We're at minicamp now, so it's another step. But we want to see this continue. So you start into, early mini camp, or, rookie mini camp for the rookies. Then you got OTAs for a while. Then you got mini camp. Then you got a big break. And then you got the next period, which is training camp, then the preseason, and then the regular season. And that's when you really see if the off seasons these guys had end up really, mattering. Ben Sennett had a nice touchdown catch. Marcus Mariota had a nice throw to him. So said, they end the period by rolling out and hitting Sennett in the end zone over the shoulder. So that's great to hear there. We talked about it. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt showing off his speed outside zone run, and he took it to the house for 60 yards. Here's some of his footwork and vision earlier in a drill. And I know a lot of people want to see that. And I've talked about Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt a decent amount here on the channel. I think he has a chance to be a really good player for the Commanders. So let me go ahead. We'll make the rounds here on just all of these, beat reporters on what they're saying here. Here's Marshawn Lattimore again. Dan Quinn was somehow participating in scout team drills on the defensive line. We had, what's his name? I'm trying to think. There, Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was there today. I was trying to remember who it was. He was there at practice. I'm not sure completely. I don't know. Don't think he didn't overlap with Dan Quinn in Dallas, if I'm remembering correctly. But, it is what it is. Maybe they probably definitely talked a little bit before. So, cool to have him there, I guess. But, not someone you want to stick around. Trey Amos and Marshawn Lattimore, again, some work in there. So, Amos was the DB and Lattimore was the receiver. So that's fun to see. Lattimore looks like he can play a little bit. Nice release there. And then you got Trey Amos, who is locking him up a little bit. Bobby Wagner wasn't there today. That's fine. Personal reasons. Hopefully everything's good, with him, but says he'll return tomorrow. And then you have Ben Sennett with a really nice touchdown catch from Marcus Mariota during 7v7. So again, he and Luke McCaffrey having good second off seasons. You love to hear that. At least second off season from what we're seeing. First day of the mini camp off season program. We'll see anything from Sam Fortier, and then we're going to go ahead and call it a day. Overall, a pretty good day for the Commanders. The biggest thing is no injuries, and that's the biggest thing. And then some of the younger guys like Luke McCaffrey, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, and then Ben Sennett had a good day as well. And seems like Trey Amos was doing well. Deebo Samuel, a new face, he was doing well. I guess the biggest negative is Terry not being there. Again, not a huge deal yet. We're going to have to wait and see when he comes back, what his camp is saying, all that good stuff. So that is something to keep, just stay tuned. Stay tuned for, and we're going to see what happens with that whole situation. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys new, and peace.